Hey everyone, welcome to Old Iron Garage and thank you for tuning in. So this evening I am out here in the garage. I am going to continue working on the Bolens tube frame 38-inch cut mower deck. So what am I going to do this evening? I'm going to assemble the spindle bearings, the spindle bearing hubs. Yeah, I'm going to assemble those. And might address a couple other things. We'll see. So in the last video, I discussed some new parts and things that I got. Trying to remember what all I got. Okay, so I got a new belt. That was a must because the other one was roached. If you watched the teardown video, you would see that thing was roached. It had some places where it's cracked almost all the way through. I'm trying to remember what else. I got new seals, oil seals for the gearbox. I was able to reuse bearings that were in are already used in a gearbox. I actually had to. If you watched previous videos, you'll know that I used parts from 3 different gearboxes to make one good one. But the gearbox that I assembled has brand new oil seals, so it will not leak, hopefully. What else? Gotta look at see what these are called again. Lynch pins, I think? Yes. These things. Yeah, these are two, the little axle pieces, I forget what you call them, that the guide wheels go on. These are the pins that I am using to hold them in place in the brackets on the mower deck shell. Sorry, bugs flying around me. And a bag full of hardware. I went to the hardware store today. Nuts, bolts, clips, some grease fittings, you name it. It's in there. Washers, like the lock washers and whatnot. It's all in there. Carriage bolts. But anyways, so yeah, if I forgot to mention anything, I will try to mention it in this video and show you. But anyways, let's go ahead and assemble some some spindles. So literally, as I am working on getting ready to start assembling parts for the mower deck, an Amazon package arrives, and it's something I actually need. Loctite 638 retaining compound, because some of the bearings don't fit perfectly in the spindle housings anymore. Some of them have just a tiny bit of slop. So we're going to be using some anaerobic retaining compound. And I noticed something, this little red sticker, and if you look really closely, it says something behind it. So I got to peeling that. Yes, I already peeled it to see what it said. This is weird. This is wild. For sale in India only. What the heck, Loctite? What's up with that? I guess as long as it works, I really don't care, but I think I wouldn't notice that and just put a little red sticker on it. You know, they won't notice. Yeah, I noticed, but I mean, I really couldn't care less. But what's that about? Loctite, if you got an answer, drop a comment. Hey, I'm back. So I wanted to show you something else. Forgot to mention. I got a package of 10 sealed bearings because, like I said earlier, I mentioned earlier, I got bearings because the ones that came out, I just didn't have enough that were still good. like good enough to run. 3 out of the 6, 3 of them were questionable. The other 3 were no good. So these, in case you're wondering, these are a 6203 RS bearing. They are a sealed bearing, and something I forgot to mention in a previously, the oil seals for the 90-degree gearbox we have here. I went with National Seals. Part number, this is for the input shaft and output shaft oil seals. National Seal by Federal Mogul. Part number 470954. And you can see that right there. Let's see if I can make it a little more clear for you. I don't know if I can. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, money's tight, as usual. So I just went with the cheapest set I can get on Amazon. Usually even cheap bearings are still pretty decent. I really wanted to get the Timken bearings, or National bearings, same as the National Seals. But yeah, I just had to go with what was more affordable. So, but once I have to pop out a seal on one side. Otherwise, these will not be greasable. These spindles are intended to be greasable. See, your grease fitting goes in the top end of the spindle shaft and comes out. There's a hole. Right there, right under my fingernail, there's a hole. Grease comes out there in between the 2 bearings. And then it goes and fills the spindle housing in between the bearings, and then greases both bearings. If you don't pop one seal, not both, just one out, you will not be able to grease these bearings. So, let's see if I can do this. There we go. That was easy. So you just pop one out. You leave the other one in, and this is another reason why this is it's important to make these so they are greasable. If you look, there's hardly any grease in there from the factory. I don't know how well it's going to show up, but there's a lot of airspace in there and hardly any grease. And honestly, probably not the right kind of grease for this application. So yeah, you want to make sure that these are greasable. So you take that seal and you pitch it. I got a trash can over here. And so yeah, I'm using this on the bearings to make sure that they stay, that they fit nice and snug in there, that they're not loose and sloppy at all, and that they stay in place as they should. This is an anaerobic retaining compound. There's this is Loctite number 638. And this is the number 638 is the high strength stuff, and it is meant for like bearings, bearing races, as you can see here in the illustration. This is the high strength stuff. Is if there's a little bit bigger gap, if there's a little bit more play or slop. They have like the regular strength stuff. It's for if it's still a fairly tight gap, but it's just a little loose in there. This is for the tighter stuff. I want to show you why that's important. So on this side, for this used spindle housing, I can get it to go in. I can persuade it to go in and out by hand, which, I mean, that's not necessarily good or bad. It's fine. I don't know that these are necessarily supposed to be pressed in. It should maybe go in a little bit harder than that. It would probably be better, at least, if it did. I don't know if it's designed that way. Like if the spindle housing was brand new, if it would go in harder than that. But I'm able to persuade it to go in by hand. It does not have any play in there. Nice and tight. But I can also pull it out by hand. Now we go to this other side. It goes in a little too easy, and you're not going to be able to pick this up on camera, but there is a tiny amount of play. Maybe you can hear it if I shut my mouth. You should be able to hear that. I can hear it very plainly, very clearly, and it comes out very easily. So this is where this stuff would come into play. One of the other housings that I have, they're hanging up there, one side of one of the other housings has more play. It's enough that on camera you'd probably be able to see it. The housing is not shot by any means, but this high strength stuff should take care of that. And if it's just a little bit too much play for this to take care of, worst case scenario, I've got two other options. I'm probably gonna go with this one. A little bit of two-part epoxy smeared on the outside of the bearing, and I would put it on the outside of the bearing and push the bearing in, because if you put it in here, where's that epoxy gonna go when you push the bearing? It's gonna go into the housing. And at some point, some of that might come loose and go into your bearing. You put it on the outside of the bearing and put it in. Where's that epoxy going to go? It's going to schleff off out here and be outside of the housing, and you can just take it off before it cures. So that's kind of an important detail if you choose to go that route. If you have a bearing that's got a little bit too much, or I'm sorry, I'm tired. A spindle housing that's got a little bit too much play. Those are your options. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble one of these on camera for you. I believe I have everything here necessary to do that. Actually, I don't. I just remembered I still have to get the pulleys. But when it comes to that point, I'm going to go ahead and start. And when it comes to that point, I will worry about it then. I'm going to need one of these. One of these. Got these parts sitting in some kerosene. I've got them pretty well cleaned, but then I put some, got my helper back here. Say hi. Hi. I went ahead and put fresh kerosene in there and cleaned them one last time. And the kerosene will leave a nice oily film on there to help prevent corrosion for a little while at least. Now my regular square stock keys and my woodruff keys, I took and I just lightly sanded the sides and the flat side of the woodruff key to just clean up the rust so that they go in easy, but you don't want to take it down so much that you've made it thinner than what it's supposed to be and that there's slop and play, because that's going to make so there's slop and play in the parts, and it's going to just cause wear and tear and wear and tear and wear and tear. Did the same with the square stock keys. Yeah, I already talked about earlier, but the spindle shafts I cleaned up as well.
I'm gonna go check on the dog.
Okay. You want to shake this stuff. Basically, any kind of automotive type fluid, whether it's this or any kind of liquidy fluid used for automotive purposes, or in this case, garden tractors. I always shake them because you don't know what kind of stuff is in there that might settle. Okay, I think they had all the air squeezed out of the bottle so it wasn't shaking. So now I got some air in there and I can kind of shake it a little bit. So, clean all surfaces, shake well before use, apply sufficient product on the engagement area, assemble and tighten as required. Product cures in absence of air and presence of metal. Parts should not be disturbed until sufficient handling strength is achieved. Typical instructions. So, I have used this stuff in the past, but very, very rarely. Just to ensure I get the desired results, I'm going to do basically exactly as it says. These bearings surely have some kind of oily, finish on the surface. So I'm going to just, now that they're open, there's, I took the seal out of one side. I don't want to just spray it down with brake cleaner. So I'm just going to put some on a rag, or in this case a shop paper towel, wipe down the outside. Yeah, it came off a little dirty, so yeah, there's something on there. Some oil and maybe a little bit of dirt from manufacturing. Alright, those are pretty well cleaned. So I'm going to put just a little bit on here. I'm pretty sure I had it open. Nope, I did not. Actually, I'm going to put my finger on the other side. I'm going to put it on the leading edge, the end that'll go in first. And I'm just going to put a thin ring on. What I'm putting on should be more than sufficient. I should have some excess that comes out, and I will just, on the outside of the housing, there should be a little bit remaining that did not go in. That's fine. Then I'll wipe it off. See? Just like that. Now, I'm going to put that in. Then the excess that popped there, that came out, that did not end up going in, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe it off so I don't get it on my hands and stuff and make a mess. I'm going to let that sit for a moment. I'm going to clean the outside of the bearing for the other side. So I've been debating what grease I want to use for the outside. Or no, the outside. I am tired. The grease I want to use for the spindles. And I think I'm going to go with like the red and tacky type of grease. And I buy my tubes of grease at a store called Rural King. I don't know if in your area you have Rural King, or if you don't, Tractor Supply Company, or another store called Runnings. They're all the same type of store, like a home and farm store. There used to be one called Big R. That was my favorite. Now Rural King is my favorite. Rural King is a lot like Big R. And Rural King is where I get pretty much all of my grease and oils and whatnot for anything small engine or garden tractor related. So I got that on there. I'm going to close this now. And we're going to just put this one in. I'm going to do what I should have done to the other side. Make sure it's fully seated. I'm going to flip it over and do that to the other side. But since this side's a little bit more loose, I'm going to do it to this side again, because it was just upside down and there was tapping done. So just to make sure it did not move, I'm going to clean up any excess that came out. Very good. So this one is done. And I want to see something. Okay. So yeah, disassembling these, for the most part, I did pay attention very well, but I forgot to pay attention to the orientation of these. It's a flat disc with a hole in the middle, kind of like a washer, but it's not a washer. This part is specific to these spindles. The center part, as you can see, is kind of offset from the rest of it. It sticks inward on one side and outward on the other side. And there's also a hole for a keyway. You can see it there when I hold it with my skin as the background. You can see it a little bit better. It would go on this side, the bottom side, which this is upside down. Now it's right side up. This would go down here, and it would go one direction. The side where the center is sticking outward, closer to you, is going to go toward the bearing. Okay, so these are coated in kerosene, and I'm just going to leave it that way. I'm just going to try to wipe off the excess. It'll work as a slightly oily film to kind of protect the steel for a little while, and protect the steel for a little while from corrosion, and help as a slight assembly lubricant when sliding it through. But now I'm at the point where I need the pulley that goes on here. So, I got an itchy nose. I am going to go and get the pulleys. I'm back. So I went down a rabbit hole. I went on a side quest. I started thinking about the bearings in, these this tensioner pulley and the idler pulley. And this is not the idler pulley that I was going to use. I went and pulled this off of Parts Deck because I feel like this one is in slightly better shape. There was less scaly flaking rust around the belt surface. I I feel like that one is like the one it's sitting out there, so I'm pointing that way. That one was maybe rusting thin. I was afraid of what I might find, maybe some pinholes once I get that scaly rust cleaned off. And so I went out and I got this one. And this one had a little bit of that, but is in what I believe it is in better shape. It looks to be a bit more solid, less likely to be rusted through anywhere. I did spend a little time flaking off the rust flakes, and it still seems to be pretty thick, you know, almost its full thickness. So I'm going to go with this one. But, you know, I was worried about these bearings. These are sealed bearings in both of these pulleys. And, you know, obviously I know you can take a seal off or both seals off and clean them out and pack them with fresh grease. And so that's what I decided to do. This one was pretty easy. As you can see, got a thunderstorm coming in. I'm hearing thunder in the background. You may hear that soon if you're not hearing it already. I've already got it cleaned out thoroughly and packed with grease, cleaned out, blown out, and then with compressed air, then packed with grease. And I spun the pulley and worked it in and pushed more grease in and spun it and worked it in. And yeah, it is full of grease. This is ready to put the seal, which I have also cleaned, back in it. This one I have not, so that way you can see I do have it cleaned out. There's a little surface rust on the cages that hold the ball bearings, but I mean, this spins very nicely. And there is a slight bit of play, but not too much. For an idle pulley, this is acceptable for one that I'm reusing. This is far from failing, is what I'm trying to say. It's not perfect, but it's far from failing. So, now I'm going to repack it with grease. Now I'm going to show you how I'm doing that. Oh, I'm going to show you this first. Before I could get to where I could start to get inside the bearing and start cleaning it out and ready to pack with grease, this pulley is, on both sides, is crimped around the bearing, and it holds the seal in as well. The crimp goes in far enough that I was not able to get the seal out. So, as you can see on this side, see it's got the seal captive in there. So I picked a side, took my small vice grips, and I would pinch. Can't really do it on this side, which is why I chose the other side, because the center of the bearing sticks out further. So it's basically when you bolt it onto something, it stays off of the surface, whatever you're bolting it to, so it can turn without rubbing. But basically, you know, where it's crimped over, I would pinch it real tight. Well, I had it spun this way and then would peel it back. And I did that all the way around, took a few minutes. As you can see, I got it peeled back. I'm going to have to take a punch and a hammer and tap that back down. But I got it peeled back enough that I was able to get the seal out. This bearing is the same exact bearing as the ones that I ordered for the spindles. But this bearing is in fine shape. No need to replace it. It's actually in better shape than this one is. There's nothing wrong with that bearing. There's no play in it. This is a plastic pulley. This is more modern. This was replaced somewhere along the way. I believe this to be an original. But the bearing is still decent. It is definitely good enough to reuse. I mean, spinning it now with it fully cleaned and no lubricant, you do hear it. But you're going to hear it with no lubricant in it at all. But if I put just a little bit of just penetrating oil in it, it quiets right down. And there's very, very little play. I know you can't really see that on camera, but there's very, very little play. The play that it has is acceptable for a used bearing for this purpose. So, anyways, so now I'm going to pack it with grease. I'm going to show you how I did that and work it in and whatnot. Sorry, I may pause and listen to the storm a little bit every now and then just to make sure doesn't sound like it's going to be more severe than what it really is, you know? So, or what it's supposed to be. So we've had a lot of nasty storms come through. The other week there was actually a full-scale tornado outbreak. Here in Indiana, we had 21 confirmed tornadoes last time I checked, confirmed by the Indiana National Weather Service. And so, yeah, we've had we've had some very spicy weather so far this year, this storm season. So everybody's a little bit rattled and on edge. So, yeah, if I pause briefly and listen, that's why. Anyways, so I got this, like, needle thing on there to grease with, and I'm just going around in between each of the, and it's raining now, in between each of the balls, and pump until it starts to squish out, and go around to the next space until it's squishing out. You want some to squish out because as you turn this bearing, it's going to work its way into the other side between the bearing and the seal, between the balls and the seal. So then you want to be able to have some to push back in and spin it some more, and then push it back in, spin it some more. You go all the way around in between each ball. With one of those really small, like syringe type grease gun attachments, you'd be able to get the grease directly on into the other side through this side. But I must have misplaced mine. I have not used it in a long time, so I do not know where it is. So this is what it'll look like. Now, the red and tacky grease would be better, but this grease any grease is going to be better than no grease. And that's essentially what was in here. It was almost no grease. Yeah. So this is going to be far better than no grease. This is what I have on hand right now. So this is essentially what I would like to use the red and tacky grease for the spindles and really everything on this mower deck that gets greased. But this is what I'm going to start with, and later on I'll buy a tube of red and tacky and use that for servicing the decks from there forward. Okay, so you kind of push it in and smooth it around and even it out, and you're going to turn it. And you'll see it kind of sucking inward a little bit. A little at a time. You just keep turning it, keep turning it, keep turning it. Then you go around, you smear it around again, fill it in where it sucks in a little bit, and as it's sucking in, it's pulling it to the other side of the bearing between the balls and the seal on the other side. It'd be better, much, much better, if I could just pull the other seal out, but I don't want to try to uncrimp the other side. I want to leave that side alone. Now, if I get you guys closer, you can see it's sucking in. You can see that ring that is where the grease is going in. You just keep doing this. And I was able to fully fill up that other bearing over there on that other pulley, the tensioner pulley, using this method. And you just keep doing that. You just keep doing it. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that the stuff I'm explaining in my videos, how things work and how to do this, how to do that. I'm sure many of you, if you're looking up these type of videos, if you're watching these type of YouTube channels where we work on stuff like this, you already know all this stuff, or at least most of it. But please remember, there are people out there that are interested in these kind of videos that don't know all this stuff. So please do not think that I think that you don't know this stuff. It's just, I don't know exactly who's going to watch these videos. And I have had some people comment and say, and have seen people comment on other people's videos and say that they are just learning this stuff. And that these type of videos are helpful, basically. So, yeah. Anyway. So I'm just going to keep doing this for a moment. And I'm almost done with it. I just want to go until I'm confident that the other side is pretty well full of grease. And then I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to take out any excess grease and wipe it on the edge of my bench to rub my forearm in later by accident. And then get frustrated with myself for wiping it on the edge of the bench. And then forgetting to clean it up. So now, I'm going to put the seal back in. Now make sure your seal has not been damaged. It's like a really thin steel piece that's rubber coated. So make sure it did not get damaged upon removing. Make sure it's nice and flat. And just start kind of pressing it back into place. You should be able to just do it with, like, you know, your thumbnails, your fingers, whatever. Should be able to do it by hand. Looks like I've got it. Now I'm going to find a socket that's right size, hopefully. Hopefully. And just give her a tap like that. Now, your bearing is re-greased. And I know that I got grease all the way through it, especially when I pushed the seal in on this side, because I've got a little bit coming out the other side. I am quite pleased with how that turned out. So I am going to, probably going to do it off camera, but I'm going to tap that crimped part back in, re-crimp it, essentially. But I'm going to do the same to this one. This one, let me clean this up, this socket. This one I may use the socket to push it back in a little more evenly and all at once. There we go, it's going in. Just not even going to use a hammer. I'm just going to, not necessary to use a hammer. I feel like you're more liable to damage it. There, I've got it basically. I'm just going to give it a few more love taps with my hand. And that seal is fully seated. And now we have a re-greased bearing. I know it made it all the way through because you can't see it. But I have grease coming out of the opposite side. So now I'm just going to clean these up a little bit. Just wipe them. Clean them up a little bit. The other side can stay how it is. No, I'm just going to go ahead actually and just start tapping that down. Once I get it tapped in a little bit, it looks like this is the right size, this impact socket, that I can hammer on it with using that and do it a little bit more evenly. I'm going to try one of these smaller punches, just a little easier to handle, not so bulky. You don't want to really wail on it. You don't want to misshape the pulley or damage anything. What I'm doing right here is more than enough for a first round. Probably go around it a couple times. I don't know, after this round I might just try that socket. Might just throw this on there and give it a couple whacks, see what that does. Let me wipe that clean and see what it looks like. It might be fully crimped. Almost. I am going to finish it with the punch. Ooh, that bearing feels good. That bearing feels great. Now with some, fully packed with fresh grease, that actually feels pretty fantastic. I like it. And I like the fact that these actually have more grease in them now than a brand new bearing does. A brand new sealed bearing. I'm going to go around it one more time. Most of this, there, that spot was not fully seated. This side is not quite fully seated, but most of it appears to be fully seated. You can kind of feel it, if it is or if it isn't. You don't have to really wail on it, like I said. Just enough to fold it back in where it's supposed to be. And that is fully crimped now. That is done. I'm really hoping this thunderstorm is just a little bit of thunder and some rain, no damaging winds. I'm getting awful sick of that. If you've watched my channel for a while, you have seen in some of my videos that the place we rent is an old trailer. It's an old mobile home. It's definitely not where I would prefer to live. I didn't grow up in a mobile home. For those that did and are okay with it, that's fine. I didn't grow up in one, and so it's just not my preference. And especially when it comes to strong winds or damaging winds, it's not a place that I want to be. So, yeah. I think I hear a helicopter. It's weird. I I know if I hear a train, I'm going to be running to get my family and get in the car and get out of here. But, yeah, you know, they say a tornado's coming. It sounds a bit like a train. But anyways, yeah, I'm really hoping this is just what I believe it's supposed to be, just some rain, maybe a little thunder. That's all it is so far, so it's not supposed to last all night, though. All right, well, that is back together. So I've never actually done this before, a bearing that is crimped in and you can't get the seal out without uncrimping it. This is my first time ever doing this. I knew you could do it, never really messed with it, and I'm glad I did that. It was a good learning experience, and I think it worked out great, and I think that this bearing may have many service years yet to come. If, you know, well, I think it's possible now. Without that, I don't think it would have lasted very long. It may have given out this mowing season, because here, by the end of this week, I do intend to be mowing with this mower deck. I'm going to get that grease off of here before I forget about it. And this will now go into my burnable trash. Yes, we do burn some trash, like paper, cardboard, stuff like that. So I don't fill up our outdoor trash cans so fast. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but that's what we do. So anyways, I do have a little bit more to do off camera. I got a few pulleys to clean up on a wire wheel. I got a little wire wheel and a die grinder, and I'm going to go clean these up. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to pause the recording here. I'm going to go do that because it's going to be noisy. And I'm sure we've all seen somebody clean something up with a die grinder. It's nothing fascinating. So I will be back in a little bit. All right, I'm back. So, got everything ready to go. Now back on track. I'm going to be assembling this spindle here. So first things first, you need to get a pulley on here. I got one here. It's prepped and ready to go. You know, I wish I had actually left that grease here now. I am going to put a little bit of grease on, there it is. Here's the grease gun. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on everything that goes together. Come on now, why doesn't this not want to come apart? There we go. There we go. Come on, pop off of there. I just needed to get that grease gun fitting off of there. I'm going to put a little bit of grease over here. And everything that goes together is going to get a little bit of grease because I don't have any anti-seize handy. And that can help to prevent parts from, like, you know, rusting together. So I put a little bit of grease on the inside of the pulley. Just going to rub it all around in there and in the keyway and everything. Just a thin film of grease in there. So when the parts slide together, there'll be a little something there as like a preventative for, you know, to help prevent corrosion. Excuse me, to help prevent corrosion. I'm an idiot. I just put that on the wrong side. I am very tired. Yeah, it's been a long day for me. And here lately, I've not been sleeping well at night. So, yeah. Not a big shocker that I goofed. I'm actually going to put a little bit on the woodruff key. Got it smeared all over my pinky, so I'm just going to smear my pinky all over this woodruff key. Just put kind of a thin film on there. Put that woodruff key in. There we go. Now, let's join these two parts together. Go ahead and get the grease off of my fingers now. Now I have a, let's get this out of the way. I have this little snap ring, needs to go in place, and it appears that it is a little bit misshapen. So I'm going to try to coax it gently to go back to the right shape. Well, about the best I'm going to be able to do. I do have snap ring pliers, but unfortunately I don't have the right sized adapter to go on with for holes that are this small. It's just one size too big, so I will be fitting this by hand. And when doing that, you gotta, well, when putting on a snap ring, period, you always have to be careful it does not go flying. So it is fully wrapped around the shaft now, and I'm working on getting it into the groove. There it is. It's in the groove. Now we're going to tap this pulley back down until it's against the snap ring. And there it is. Fully seated against the snap ring. Now we just have to tighten down these Allen set screws, or I think some people will refer to them as grub screws as well. Probably depends on what part of the world you're in. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of grease on these as well. Still got a little brake cleaner in those holes that I didn't realize. Was in there still. So we get a little bit of grease wrapped around here. And I'm going to put some of that into this hole. Maybe just a little bit more in the hole. And turn this thing in. The additional grease that's in there is pushing out between the pulley and the shaft. That's fine. Tighten her down. You know, just a little bit ago I mentioned that recently we had an evening where there was a full-scale tornado outbreak here in Indiana. Today I actually had the opportunity to go past the spot where a tornado came very near my parents' house and my wife's parents' house. It was within a few miles of each. It was a little bit closer to my parents' house than it was to my wife's parents' house, but I got to see the damage from that, and it was a smaller tornado, an EF1 maybe. I don't know what the scaling is for, you know, tornado size or destruction in other parts of the world, but here in the United States that would be an EF1. Used to be F1, the F standing for Fujita, the guy that initially made the scale for measure like the measurement of, you know, the destruction of a tornado does, strength and destruction, but whatever. I don't really know how to exactly say it, but, you know, basically tell you how strong a tornado was. But yeah, so it used to be called the Fujita scale. Now it's called the enhanced Fujita scale. They updated it. But yeah, that is based off of not just, you know, size and wind speed, but it's based a lot off of the damage and destruction it does. So it runs from EF0 up to EF5. And then there's also EFU. So if it goes through an area where there is nothing, then they would rate that an EFU no matter how big and how powerful it was, because it didn't damage anything. I mean, yeah. So if it doesn't do any damage to any buildings or property, then essentially it would, I believe that that would be an EFU. Sorry, I am fascinated by severe weather and tornadoes. It's just something that's always fascinated me, so I can go on and on about that. Anyways, yeah, I always wanted to be a storm chaser. But when I was a kid, I'd run around on my four-wheeler at the beginning of when storms were rolling in, looking for rotation in the sky. But yeah, it's probably not the brightest thing to do. But I'm still here, so. Anyways. Yeah, I got the opportunity to go past where the tornado went, not far from my parents' house, just a couple miles from my parents' house, and I got to see some of the destruction. It wasn't anything too serious. The worst thing was there was an RV, a camper that got flipped and rolled right through a fence and into into another property, I guess. That was pretty wild to see that, you know. But anyway, fortunately it wasn't any worse than it was. Went right past the house of a guy I used to work with. Older Amish guy I used to work with. Okay, I just realized I made a mistake. Well, sort of. I can't actually put this pulley on until it's through the mounted in the mower deck. I mean, I can take it right back off now, but I kind of did need it on there so I know how far this goes through the bearings, through the spindle housing. Like I said, I'm tired. Not been sleeping well lately. And today was a long day for me, so I'll take that back off here in a little bit. I don't know what I'm doing. Alright, anywho's. Yeah, this goes on next. I'm going to put grease on literally everything. Everything that could possibly rust in place, I'm going to put grease on it. Because I don't want it to rust in place in case I got to take this apart again. Alright, now that washer type piece with the key that has the center kind of offset and the keyway cut in it is installed. It's kind of like a protective shield on the bottom side of that bottom bearing. And now I'm going to go ahead and install, even though I don't need it yet, but just so it's there, I'm going to go ahead and install one of the blade adapters that I have cleaned up and painted up. So that way, it's there and with the spindle. And right here on the bench, I can ensure that they fit together nicely since they've been painted. Because, you know, inside this part, I did get a little bit of paint. I did not have a correct size plug to put in that hole. So, but I cleaned up the shafts real good. So that, you know, there's no rust and corrosion buildup on there, so that will help. There we are. That is a fully assembled spindle. We're going to check it out here in just a little bit. You know what? I'm actually not going to pump these full of grease. I'll place an order online for some red and tacky grease and pick it up tomorrow at Rural King. And yeah, we'll pump them full of red and tacky. And there it is. Clean those threads out a little bit. There we have it, a fully assembled spindle. Fresh bearings. Those feel really nice. Quiet as can be. Can't even hear it. Now this will have to come off, this pulley, but I am going to leave it on there so it's there and ready to go. I might actually just go ahead and assemble the others that way so I don't misplace the pulleys and they're like, where's the pulley? So, alrighty, there's that, and I think I'm just gonna. This is gonna be a little bit longer video, I suppose, but I may go ahead and put this pulley on the gearbox. No, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, you see me put a pulley on, same process. I'm going to do that off camera. But anyway, so I'm going to cut this video here. I'm going to wrap this video up here. This video went on longer than I anticipated it going, I planned on going, because I went down the rabbit hole with opening up and cleaning out and re-greasing bearings and whatnot. So, and I rambled on about random things like I usually do. So, yeah, I'm going to cut the video here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bugs. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up so I know. I'd like to see what kind of content people like so I know what to show more of in the future. If you didn't like this video, also let me know. And drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts. If you guys have any input as to like something you've seen that I could have done better, let me know. And if you like the kind of content you see on this channel and you have not already, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I will see you guys in the next one. Later. Just real quick here, for those of you that don't know what this stuff that I'm using, anaerobic retaining compound, does. Let's see. With good stuff.